Hi there. In this video we're going to be creating a date dimension for the My Library report. Before we do this, we're going to discuss what is a date dimension, why we need one, and in the exercise we're going to be creating a date dimension table using DAX, Data Analysis Expressions. Once we've created the table, we need to make some adjustments to it to ensure that the months sort correctly. And we're also going to create a date hierarchy to simplify our report building processes. So what is a date dimension? It is a continuous list of dates. And those dates have additional columns of data that tell us more about the dates, such as the month, the year, or the day of the week. And date dimensions are joined to date fields in other tables that exist within our data model. In the context of the library manager, we have a date loan started column, and this is the column that we'll be connecting to our date dimension. But why do we need a date dimension? The automatic time intelligence within Power BI is a calendar year that starts on the 1st of January and ends on the 31st of December. But in organisations, that's not always the case. The fiscal year, the year your organisation works to, may not end on the 31st of December. It may be timed into the tax years of your country, or in the context of a school or a university, the academic year may be an important way to consider the calendar. Date dimensions allow us to create time-based metrics, and in the context of Power BI, we call them measures. You might be interested in the sales this time last year, and you might even want to extend that to be the percentage change year on year. For most visualization projects, having the concept of time is usually important to them. Organisation budgets and performance is generally time-based. Another point around date dimensions is because they have a continuous list of dates, it means you can create graphics with no missing dates or months. It's possible in the context of a library that someone might not take out any books across an entire month, but when we represent it graphically, we wouldn't want that month to be missing. Finally, when we have our organisation-based date dimension, it has additional attributes such as week number or half year. And these can allow us to perform filtering operations that wouldn't otherwise be possible. In the context of the Power BI report creation stages, we are in the model data stage and we'll be creating a DAX table. So let's move over to the exercise and start building. I'm in the My Library report. If I look at the model view, I can see that we've actually got two tables and those two tables aren't linked. I'm actually going to go onto the data pane and look at the table. I can see those two tables are there. We need to create ourselves a new table using DAX. I'm going to select New Table. I'm going to call this table dim date. And the first thing I'm going to do is to say that we're going to use the function calendar auto. So type in CALEND and I can select calendar auto. Now with calendar auto, it'll look across all of the date fields within your tables that you have, and it's going to create this continuous list of dates. So I can close the bracket on this, or the parentheses, and then select the Enter key. We've now created our table and we're going to enhance it further, but let's have a look and see what's happened already. Let's go to the model view. We can see we have a new table. Let's go back to the table view again and enhance our table. We can do this by wrapping an add column statement around the calendar auto. So I can start just before the calendar auto, and if I select Shift and Enter, it's going to drop it down one level. I'll drop it down one more level. And now I'm going to add columns, and then select the add columns. What are we going to add? We're going to add it to calendar auto, and then put a comma in there, and then select Shift and Enter. The name of the new column that I want to add is going to be month ID, and I'll need to put that within some quotes. Once I've done that, I can then put another comma in, and then I need to tell it what this field is going to include. I'm going to use the month function, and it's going to look at the date column. Type in month and then open the bracket, and I'll need to open a square bracket and then select the date. This is the date column that we can see here. I can now close the parentheses. That's closing it on the month function, and I need to close it again, which is going to close it on the add columns function. I can now select Enter. I'm now going to investigate this data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I sort this data by the date. Sort ascending. If I scroll further on down, I can see the month ID changes from 1 to a 2 when it moves between January and February. Let's add another column into our dim date. What we need is a month column, but instead of it showing a number for the month, we're just going to do it showing the first 3 letters of the month. Note that this will be English months for myself, but it may be different for yourselves because of the language that you are operating in. Go to the function here. I need to add some more lines in by adding a Shift and then Enter. So we'll add them in. We're part of the add columns function, so I'm going to put another comma in there, drop down a line. I'll do a quote, and I'm just going to type in month and then close the quote. And then I'm going to use the format function. Type in format. I can select it there. And then I'm going to do the open the brackets, and it's the square bracket, select date, put a comma in, and then another quote, and then I'm going to type in MMM. This means it's going to return to us the date as the first 3 letters of the month. I can now close the bracket on the format function, and I already have a closed bracket here on the add columns function. So the expected behavior now is that when I select the Enter, we'll have another column added into our date dimension. So I'm going to select Enter. So let's start investigating what we've created. I'm going to go onto the visualizations pane, and I'm going to add in another page, but this page is just going to be for experiments. I'm going to call it testing. What I'm going to do now is to bring a matrix onto the canvas, move it around, and then select the drop down by dim date. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in the month. Let's bring the month into the rows, and we can immediately see that there's something not quite right here. It starts with April, then August, December, then February, January, and so on. The order in which the months have come through isn't correct, but we can change that. Let's go back to the modeling view. Select on the month column, and then we can do a sort by column operation. Select the drop down for sort by column, and then select month ID. It's not obvious what's changed here, but if we go back to the visualizations and look at the report, we can see that it now runs from January through to December. Let's go back to the table view. We're going to enhance this further by using a date dimension that I've actually prepared for you using DAX. I'm going to open Notepad on my computer, and then select File, and then I'm going to open a text document. And then I'm going to open a text document that exists within your resource links. We're looking for dim date. And we can see a more detailed date dimension. I'm going to select all of these, copy it, move back to my library report, select all, Control A, and then Control V to paste this in. Nothing's changed yet. When I select the Enter button, then it's all going to be introduced. We've now enhanced the data model. We've still got the month. We've also got a day number. That's interesting. We've got a day name. That's very interesting. And that is just a format date using the DDDD opportunity, which means it shows us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. We have the year. We also have something which says today. And we could use that to compare today to the other dates. But it's the final 3 columns that I'm really interested in here. We have school year. So the first thing it does is actually looks at the month ID associated with the date. And if that month is 10, 11 or 12, it's effectively going to add 1 to the year. And this is because in the United Kingdom, the academic year runs from September through to August. Similarly, we have a formula which changes the school month ID. It's a little tricky to read, but ultimately all it's really saying is September is month 1 and August is month 12. The final column, Report Refresh, gives us an opportunity for us to understand when this report last refreshed. Essentially, it tells us how old the report is. Let's go back to our visualizations. I'm going to go to the pane here for the report view. I'm going to add in a hierarchy which is going to be school year and then month. If I select on school year on the 3 ellipses to the right hand side of it, I can select create hierarchy. And this is a hierarchy with just the school year inside it. So I'm interested in the month. So I'm going to select the 3 dots to the right hand side of it, add to hierarchy and add to school year hierarchy. So let's change our matrix and we're going to drag in the hierarchy onto the rows and we're going to remove the original month. I'm now going to expand the 2024 and we'll see that it runs from January through to December. If we now drag the date into the rows, we can expand the figure for January. And that's correctly got the January the 1st, 2024. But if we actually look at September, we can see that it includes the 1st of September 2023. So it's not quite working correctly. And the reason for this is because we're not sorting by the right columns. Let's move back to our table view. And I'm going to select on the month. Then I'm going to do sort by columns. And I'm going to sort by school month ID. If I now move back to the visualizations pane, I can see that the changes have been made. I'm going to remove the date for the moment. And you can see we start the year in September. That's what we wanted. The final thing that I'm going to do here is select on the table view, and then we're also going to mark this as a date table. Mark as date table. And we need to select the column that has the dates in, and it's our date column. Select that, and then we can select OK. By marking it as a date table, it helps make our model more efficient, as well as avoiding ambiguity within our model as far as what the date table is. Let's take a look at the model view now. And note that although we have 3 tables, these tables aren't yet connected to each other. And we'll see why this is important in a future lesson. Hope you've enjoyed this lesson on creating a date dimension for my library report. And as we progress through future videos, we'll learn why this is so important for us to build it in this way so that we can create great visualizations. I'll see you in the next video.